live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Blog Talk Radio.
Good evening and welcome to the Holyspiritz Blog Talk Radio Show. I'm your host, Minister G.O. Hart, and I thank you for tuning in. This show that we're doing tonight is a show that was inspired by someone very dear to me, and very dear to my heart. Such a dynamic individual who simply lives the life that God has placed at her feet. And without getting too deep into her personal life, I wanted to share part of her testimony from my perspective and from what God showed me through the Holy Spirit. If I had to describe this person, I would run out of words to describe the greatness and the awesomeness and the glowing beauty that she was so gracefully blessed with. But what I will do is to sum up what I feel defines her mind, body, and spirit, and that would be indomitable. Indomitable. And if you're wondering what that word means, I'll tell you. Indomitable means incapable of being overcome or subdued or vanquished, unconquerable, that cannot be tamed or subdued or repressed, untamable. That really describes her. Applied chiefly to human beings and their attributes as indomitable energy, obstinacy, and courage. Such a powerful, authoritative, and demanding word to be able to have the faith of a mustard seed and to believe that whatever you set your heart's desires to will come to pass. And if you stay the course and never give up, no matter how difficult things may seem or look, you must be unmovable in everything that you believe. There's a wonderful book I received as a gift last year titled Unstoppable. It's by the entrepreneur and author Nick Vujicic, I believe it's Nick Vujicic. And for those who don't know Nick was born without any limbs and no arms and no feet. And through it all, Nick's family, particularly his mother and his father, made absolutely sure that their son never felt that he was limitless or handicapped. And as a young boy, Nick was doing all the things that a normal kid would do, from skateboarding, surfing, and jumping on trampolines. And yet through it all, and despite Nick's having some difficulties in finding relationships, Nick conquered every obstacle that was set before him. Yes, he had thoughts of suicide and didn't understand at first why God made him that way. Nick was bullied through school, yet what kept Nick together through all his trials and tribulations was his relationship with his family and the Father. You see, Nick never gave up on God, nor the promises that he had heard and read in the Bible. It was the promises of God that put Nick on the center stage as a spokesman and a motivational speaker who travels around the world telling his story and encouraging people that if he could become successful and an entrepreneur in his capacity, then surely anyone else can if they continue to press towards their mark and the promises of God. Nick's faith system is what kept him focused through it all, and his indomitable spirit to never give up, even when he couldn't see prosperity, a relationship, a true friendship on any level. When you start to doubt yourself in anything that you're doing, that's when your breakthrough is simply waiting for you to walk right through. Most people, my beloveds, it's like a Job. Most people, like Job, a man who didn't deserve anything that was happening to him. And yet even when his own wife told him to just curse God and die, he would not give up on the promises of God and what God had already done for him and his family. Most of the time as saints, we have a Janet Jackson mentality when it comes to God. Meaning God placed you in a career and then that new home some 10 years ago, and when you're looking for a new position or starting your own business, and God doesn't respond as quickly as he did last time, you begin to have a wavering faith system, and that doubting Thomas begins to enter your spirit as you're praying and asking God, what have you done for me lately? Such a weak spirit and fake spirit altogether. It's only when things are good that you can shout and give God the glory. Yet when you are told that this isn't your season, and this job, that home, that college tuition may take another 90 days or so, then you simply give up and start doing the things that God did not assign to your purpose. Some of us, we just get straight low down and deceitful, trifling really, in everything we do. But if only we had patience like Job to wait on the Lord, then we would be in the right place at the right time, doing the right things and giving testimony to our friends, our church members, our families, pastors, our children, our co-workers, and everybody who God sends your way to be a living witness of the power of God. This is so important, my beloveds. I tell you to be steadfast in all things and never moving from one decision to the next. It is this unmovable spirit that God is searching for. And that very moment when all else has failed you and friends, loved ones have left you, God can begin to create a thing in you and through you. Sometimes what really truly is holding you back is the company that you keep. God may not have assigned those people to your plan, purpose, process, and prosperity. You did. Trust me, I'm going to live a witness that if you're not in the place to receive God's blessing, then I can assure you God will delay them for a season, or until you get that faith and that unstoppable mindset back into your spirit. There's a wonderful book called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. This book gives about 13 secrets of how one can become wealthy and independent if they follow the blueprint in this book. Yet throughout the book, in which I suggest you get a copy of it, and it's only $4, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. It's on sale for $4. It's been around for decades. Yet in this book, it talks about renewing or changing the mind over and over again. Not what type of degree you have, but your mindset on how you think something into existence. It's already in the universe for us to have. The things our hearts desire, yet we don't know how to use our minds, our gifts that we all have no matter what race, or age, or creed, education level, or what have you. It's in the universe. And this book is truly trying to get across to all the readers and what an awesome, easy read it is. Indomitable. Say it, people. Indomitable. Incapable of being subdued or overcome. Untamable. Nothing can stop you because you have a made-up mind. Such as a woman with the issue of blood. I love this story because no matter how bad her condition was and how unattractive she may have looked or even smelled, she was not going to be denied the opportunity to meet Jesus, or at least touch the hem of his garment. She had a determination that even when she was knocked down, stepped on, pushed back, kicked, she kept right on pressing until she got to Jesus. And remember, there were hundreds of people walking with Jesus, trying to get a glimpse of this man. And she kept right on pressing until she got to Jesus. But this woman, she simply was indomitable. She was incapable of being subdued. So let's take a look at a few principles that made her victorious even when she could have given up. And what I want to leave you all with tonight is the spirit of knowing that no matter what you're going through, no matter what challenges may be facing you, there's nothing you cannot do. God has placed everything. When in the Bible on the sixth day, when God said it was good, man, it was good. And what he's talking about is everything. God didn't place sickness on earth. Man did. And the evils did. He set the atmosphere that if we stay connected with the universe, we could demand anything from it. Food, water, shelter, money, jobs, careers, houses. Just being connected with the universe, it draws things to you. That's why Jesus was so awesome. Because he didn't allow himself to be preoccupied. And that's what I always tell you. I'm not knocking entertainment. I'm not knocking all these things, scandal, all these things that we enjoy to watch. Because I'm not going to lie, I watch scandal from time to time too. I like a little entertainment. But be not dismayed. You can be of the world, but not in the world. Don't allow all these shows to get you all. You out here got a scandal club, and you're meeting at bars and what have you, and sports bars and dinner clubs, going over the show, and I mean, come on. I mean, it's just a show. If your life is that pathetic, that this is the greatest thing in your life every Thursday, my God. No wonder you can't meditate on things and you can't think on things and receive them, because you're not using your power. You're not using the basic gifts that God gave you, starting with the mind. That's why the Bible always talks about a renewed mind. Talking about old things passed away. You're not supposed to be hanging on to what somebody did to you yesterday or 2-3 years ago. Old things are passed away. What's important is the now. And how you control your universe. How you control your own destiny. And I thank God that I lived long enough to understand this. And I'm going to talk about the woman with the issue of blood in a minute, but I want to get this point across because it's so prevalent. Because so many of us, like myself included, even in ministry and pastoralship, we get so bogged down with the routine of church that we really don't try God. I've had several meetings with pastors of mega churches that even said that their week is so packed with going to preach here or going to this anniversary or this revival that they don't even have time to even read the Bible. I know you're thinking, well, you know, they doing sermons, but yeah, that's totally different. You expound on that thing and whatnot, and you get in that pulpit and you just move in it. but they don't have time to meditate on the Bible. And you lose that time with God. I know it sounds crazy, but again, on this show we talk truths in the spirit. And what an awful thing that is for a pastor to not have time for God. Because you gotta understand, he's married, he got a family, he has responsibilities, gotta take the car to the dealership to get repaired, gotta pick the kids up from school, gotta take the wife out, gotta have church meetings, and this is all business. Gotta have pastors' meetings, deacon meetings, all these meetings. And it's at the church, but very little time for God. So what I'm telling you tonight, talking about this word, indomitable, is the simple fact that when you stay connected to God, you have to stay connected to the universe. Most churches don't preach about the universe and how to use the universe. That's why Moses was able to do so many things out there in nature. He hit a rock and water came out. There's so much power in the universe. If only we spend time in nature. All these things we intertwine with. That's why there's no such thing as Hispanic and Jews and all these things. When Christ came, look at Revelation chapter 3 verse 9. It talks about it. Everybody became in the body. No longer was there a certain gender, religion, a group of people might have you. Everyone was received by God because everyone was created by God. But the key here is that we had to work together in unity. And what the wealthy and what the evils have figured out is, if we keep them separated, if we keep them believing that they're from Trinidad and they're special, they're from Puerto Rico and they're special, they're from Egypt and they're special, they're from Asia and they're special, they're from Jerusalem and they're special, then they'll keep fighting amongst each other. And they'll never figure out that if they work in unison, all power belongs to them. It's very simple, people. If you are a believer and if you are a pastor of any religion or any faith, and if you're not preaching this, you are a liar. You are a liar. Because if you look at that Bible, it talks all about unification of all creeds. It even gives you descriptions of who people were. Everybody, even folks who didn't pray, when they heard about Jesus, they wanted to meet him. The woman with the issue of blood, she wasn't Jewish. She wasn't religion. Wasn't no church to go to. But that woman had faith of a mustard seed. And she had a made up mind that no matter what, there's power. And I'm going to get it. And if I got to get kicked on, stepped on, trampled on, I'm going to get it. And I'm not going to stop till I get it. That's why I want to end with this story. Because this woman, 12 years. Can you imagine being bleeding for 12 long years? And wasn't no sanitation back then. You know she wasn't getting up combing her hair. I couldn't even imagine what kind of clothes the woman wore. What, you gonna put on some good clothes, all of you bleeding for 12 years? But she was indomitable. she refused to lose. This sick and anonymous woman must have been bleeding from hemorrhages. Like I said, 12 years, which legally rendered her to be unclean. That means you couldn't be around certain people, certain religious people. You couldn't be around them. And even when you came into a crowd, people who were unclean had to announce themselves by saying, unclean, unclean, to let the religious folk know they're coming through. She could not throw herself, therefore, at the feet of Christ and state her complaint, because she was a modest, humble woman. But she was unclean, and she knew who Christ was. But yet she made her way through that crowd, an impossible crowd. And mind you, this was an aggressive crowd because everybody was pressing to get close to Jesus. Everybody was pushing everybody out of the way to see him. Just imagine Jay-Z walking through the hood, and everybody on the block and blocks around are running to try to get near him. But yet he has bodyguards. Jesus had the disciples, and the disciples are pressed up against Jesus because everybody trying to get to him. So this woman is probably 40, 50 feet back from the center of Jesus, and yet she's squeezing, and you know she's nasty, so they probably spitting on her too. Because the last thing you want to do is see somebody nasty, trifling, smelling, looking, rubbing on you. So here she is, pressing, and now she done figured out, I ain't gonna meet him. I'm not gonna meet him. But I tell you what, if I can touch him, or touch his clothes, I can be sure to be healed. So she had a made up mind that, okay, I'm about to get beat down up in here. But regardless of my situation, I'm gonna keep moving. I don't know how far they even walking. I have no clue. I spent every dime I had on all these so-called doctors and soothsayers or what have you. Everything I had, and nothing worked for 12 years. No husband, definitely no kids, no friends for sure. But she heard about a man. And see, what I'm telling you is this. This woman's focus was so set on her goal that in her mind, she saw herself touching God. She saw herself touching the hem of his garment. She saw it before it happened. And when you talk about faith and what it is the substance of things that are unseen. They ain't happened yet. Faith is just knowing that something may look impossible, but regardless of what I see, I'm going to make it possible. I'm going to make the impossible possible. And I'm going to make the I can't into how can I. And I'm going to make the denial into determination. And that's exactly what she did in this scripture and in this text. And what was so dynamic about this woman is Number one, she was cursed after having so many failures. This poor woman really endured at the hands of the medical men of that time. Left to no imagination what a touch of reality is given to her story by the knowledge that she had suffered many things of many physicians and was no better, but rather she grew worse. And where men failed, Christ succeeded. Down the ages, men and women where no agencies could be claimed have been restored by Christ. What is not possible with men is blessedly possible with God. Her disease was a long-standing, yet she was swiftly healed. For as soon as she touched the hem of his garment, straightway, that means instantly, people, the fountain of her blood was dried up. If a person suffers for a while from a complaint and seeks no medical advice, but in the end goes to the doctor, he invariably says, you should have come to me sooner. But it is the glory of Christ that he can heal those who come late to him. This woman knew no matter what, no matter how things looked, that all she had to do was meet him. And if not, meet him, touch him. Just be in the presence of the Lord. And there, she'd find her healing. And by her mindset, a made-up mind, people, that woman was healed straightway. Instantly the blood dried up. She was cursed with the utmost rapidity. The favorite word here, straightway, which was used 27 times in Mark, in this gospel, in most cases related to the Christ's rapid cures. How swift he was in his relief for the suffering. As at creation, so in his miracles of healing, he spake and it was done. And spiritual parallels of his instantaneous power can be seen in conversions of Matthew and Paul, and the dying thief. Many of us too can testify to the fact that he can transform character in a moment of time. The term Jesus used in addressing the nameless sufferer suggests that she was still young, though wasted and faded by her malady, which made her look older than she was. But the nature of her disease at the age of the one afflicted made no difference to him in healing the sick and saving the lost. Her thin body, as Jesus passed by the withering fingers of the woman, brushed the border of Christ's sacred dress. And all at once her thin body felt the painless health of girlhood return. A strength she had not known for 12 years, renewed by being, and she knew that Christ had made her whole. It was renewed, people, by her being. Renewed. All things are passed away. When you decide to make up your mind that you want to change your finances, you want to change from being a renter to a homeowner, you get to see that thing. You get to meditate on that thing. Start reading books. Expand your vocabulary. Learn about the housing market. Learn about real estate. Whatever it is. Do diligent research. But keep that faith stronger than ever. Because that faith is what binds it all together. Yes, there's going to be work involved. But doing the work and getting up early, get up 2 hours early. Spend time with God, meditating, seeing yourself in the home, seeing your finances change. Seeing yourself at that college, at university, seeing your kids change. Or that person go off a drug. You have to visualize this thing and meditate on this thing. Day and night.
10 seconds.
until it becomes in your spirit. And then the earth, you begin to mobilize and use all of your resources from the atmosphere to pull those things inward towards you. A lot of folk call that favor. But that's what God has placed in you. The ability to control your destiny. She was cured. She acknowledged the receipt of the benefit bestowed upon her, and she was commended by her faith. She knew that if she could touch the hem of his garment, that she would be healed. Well, she didn't know that Christ would feel virtue coming out of him. And when he asked, "Who touched me?" and he asked that repeatedly, and she was ashamed to say it. And finally she acknowledged that she touched him. Christ told her to go in peace, and she was healed. But because of her faith, people, she was healed. Because Christ had never seen all these folks around him. He had never felt a faith like that. That power, that authority that he was trying to release into the earth. That he was trying to be an example for us to use. This woman is a blueprint. Not just Think and Grow Rich or The Richest Man in Babylon, all these wonderful books we read, and I read them too, and I enjoy them. But when you look at this woman with the issue of blood and how she was just relentless and had her focus, man, that's a book. And that's truly a blueprint for everybody to really study. To study. Because again, everything was against her. She had no crew. She had no advisor. She had no girlfriend to call and say, "Well, what I should do about this? I've been bleeding." Nobody. Nobody but God. Nobody but God. And her faith. So she had two things working for her right there. God's sovereignty and knowing it and the know-how. And the faith that if I put this thing into action, because faith by works is dead, people. She put her faith into action by what? Leaving her home in disgrace. And embarrassing herself for the whole public to see. All her neighbors, all the people in town. As she walked by, bare feet, no shoes on. Dirty, muddy feet. Face probably covered in dirt because she was so ashamed, hair just dangling all over her head, looking a hot mess. But she didn't care about any of that. She didn't say, "Oh, I ain't got nothing to wear. Oh, I don't." She didn't care about any of those things, as the world does. Well, I would go to the interview, but to the conference, but I ain't got nothing to wear. She said, "I go butt naked because I'm going to get something, and I'm not leaving until I get that something." And I'm speaking to myself too. As I'm speaking this word, I'm encouraging myself too. This is a powerful message tonight. And a powerful word. And I told my sister friend, I told her, that's your word. That's who you are. Because she inspired me to look at that word. To meditate on that word by the things that she was doing and she is doing. But ultimately, what God is doing in her life. Indomitable. Indomitable. Look it up and check it out. It's an awesome word. Just like Nick Vujicic's book, Unstoppable. The man here didn't have any arms. Born with no arms, no legs. Yet he's one of the highest paid motivational speakers in the world. And he gave God the glory for making him that way. Now he's married with a beautiful wife. He has a plethora of businesses he's doing. He has marketing firms. This man could have gave up on life, on himself. But he was determined. He was determined to get all that God had said he had for him. That old saying, what God has for me is for me. That's what Nick did. Nick grew up knowing God. And that's important, people. To teach your children about God. Teach them about God. The power of God. But yet that same power has been released in them. And you teach them how to tap into it. And if you don't know how to tap into it, you better learn. There's nothing wrong with reading books, people. You know, a lot of church folk get, oh, I don't read that kind of stuff. The devil is a liar. God has given you all types of resources to know him, to know how to get closer to him, to receive him, and to release the power within yourself. So stop calling everything, oh, that's witchcraft. No, it ain't. That's ignorance. Study to show yourself approved. God was talking about everything that you do in life. Study to show yourself approved. He wasn't just talking about the Bible. If he did, it wouldn't be no need for education. So stop being so ignorant and foolish, church folk. Grow, manifest. All these words you're learning, and you're not utilizing the tools that these pastors are working. They're working earnestly to teach you every week. Enlarge your territory. Meditate. Pray. Work that faith out. It's the unseen, and it's the substance. But it's yours. Declare it. Own it. Because it tells you right there in that word, you can't be subdued. So the devil can't do anything to you. Put on the full armor and get out there and work out the promises of God in your life, in your family's life, and be blessed to be a blessing to someone. Give, serve, love, but connect with each human being. Even if they're ignorant and they think, you know, because they speak differently, they special, whoop-de-doo. You love them anyway. Because that love that you show and that love that you share will illuminate and transcend beyond them, beyond ignorance. Some people need to learn how to love. You got grown women and men don't know how to love. Don't even hug their own kids. But they married. The last time they hugged was on their wedding anniversary. But then they got married. Because there's no unification in their spirit. And there's certainly no God in the home. That's why I always talk about the universe and growing natural foods and in your home. That's an awesome thing when you got your kids and your wife or whatever, and nobody's a green thumb. But what an awesome activity to do when you decide to plant a garden and all this stuff on YouTube and Facebook that you got people planting herbs in Coke bottles, plastic Coke bottles, and hanging them up. What an awesome thing that would be for your family to do projects that dealing with nature and watching it grow. Do you know how powerful that is? And what you're saying and what your spirit is speaking to the universe? And that same energy that you're releasing comes back to you. And all the things that your heart's desire, it starts drawing and pulling into you. It can't help it. People can't help but give you money. Folk can't help, even with your credit jacked up, to say approved. They look at you and they can't say no. Because your energy and your spirit says yes. Yes. I'm going to end right here, because I think I've said all I wanted to say in my spirit. Listen, my time is up, and I thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you all were certainly inspired by the show. I know I was. I encouraged myself, because I'm working on some projects myself now, and that I thank God I didn't have any doubt about it. But right now, it's not looking as great as it should be. But I understand the power from within myself and the power of God that this thing's going to turn. And I can rest tonight. I can rest assured that God has that thing under control. And in your life, God has that under control too. Be not, be dismayed. Thank you guys for tuning in again. And as always, in parting, we'll let us say, to love yourselves is to know yourselves, and to know yourselves comes by spending time with God. Peace, God bless, and we'll see you on Monday.